Jules, as the boys mentioned, on Tuesday it's Real Madrid in the Champions League. How do you think the City defense will do then?
That's the question, really. I mean, the first leg at the Bernabeu is not going to be easy. Remember what happened last season, certainly in the second leg. But this is different. And if you're Carlo Ancelotti, if you're Jude Bellingham, if you're Vinicius Jr., and you've watched the game today, of course, you would have noticed everything that we've said, those transitions where they struggled against Villa, they struggled today again. Like Ali said, they've struggled all through the season in those similar ones, especially without Kyle Walker, because the pace and the one player really that could recover from that is Kyle Walker, as Stevie was mentioning, and Walker won't be fit, I think, for Tuesday. So it'll be difficult for them. They will have to put certainly more pressure in midfield, and for that, who do you play? And again, we go back to the debate about Foden and De Bruyne. Is there room for both in this team against Real Madrid at the Bernabeu, for example? Do you go more solid and you put Kovacic next to Rodri? Do you put Stones next to Rodri? But then we saw Guardiola today, who came off at half-time because he was that average in the first half. So this is really like for Pep to figure out, especially against Real Madrid, especially with the quality of Kroos, for example. If you don't put any pressure on Kroos and you play the high line, he's going to ping the ball over you for Vinicius, for Rodrigo, for Bellingham, running in behind all the time, all game long. Even at the Bernabeu, I don't think Real Madrid will mind leaving the ball to City to counter them like that. So it'll be very interesting to see what team Guardiola puts out on Tuesday night.
Stevie, what would you do if you were in Pep's shoes? Would you start them both?
Yes.
Really? It's not a risk?
Well, Manchester City are about going forward. Manchester City are about dominating games. And they don't really care that much about who they're up against, because they feel that if we're at our best, we can beat anybody. And so I think Pep's going to go and play his best team and absolutely play what suits him and what they normally do.
Is that the right thing to do?
Oh, the problem is, I think the one thing we're forgetting here is John Stones, when he plays centre-back and steps in the middle of the field, he looks so good and so elegant when he does that. The problem is, when the ball's turned over, there's another hole. There's another gap for Rodrigo or for Vinny Jr., whoever it is, to exploit. And the fact that Ali's talking about Diaz has not had a good season. Diaz has been bang average. And so if he's last man and Stones is stuck in the middle of the park, then that'll cause trouble. But I don't think Pep will change. He will go and try and play their best team. They will try and play the way they do, and they will try and dominate and win the game their way.
You know, you just argue against yourself there, right?
Jules, what would you do? I feel like you have a pretty strong opinion on this.
No, it's just I think Foden will have to play wide if De Bruyne starts, because Pep never plays them both as 10s. And De Bruyne was asked a question today after the game, because obviously he had a great game today. On 3 days after Foden had a great game when KDB was on the bench. And he said, we very rarely play together as 10s. So you play Foden wide. I'm not sure that has the same impact, certainly with the ball or without the ball, than a typical winger, for example, or different options. So I agree with Stevie. I think he will play them both. You can't bench Foden really for a Champions League game like that. Although remember last season, there was no Foden in any start of the game of any knockout stage game. Sorry. So he might do that. You should go solid in midfield. I think for me, Kovacic will start, and you go back to a back four maybe, with Rico Lewis right back, or Akanji right back, and Guardiola left back, Ruben Diaz and Stones in the middle. And then you put Kovacic and Rodri, and then whoever you want in that front four, Alvarez on the bench, whoever you want to put wide, Foden, Grealish, Foden, Doku, Foden, Bernardo, even if you want a bit more control, and then De Bruyne and Haaland. So, but for me, Kovacic has to start that game on Tuesday.